Okay, so the story I have chosen to tell from my life is of the only time in my life that I have been to Great Sand Dunes National Park in Colorado. So, if you know anything about me, you know that I'm kind of a woods person. I think of myself as like a little bit like a feral raccoon. I spend a lot of my time outside. It's I don't like the word outdoorsy, but like I've been to a lot of national parks. It's like my favorite thing to do in the summer is to take long road trips and go to different parks and spend time outside. And that's my favorite thing to do. And this particular story takes place when I was 17. It was the summer before my last year of high school. And I was on a road trip with my family. And at this particular point in our trip, my dad, my mom, and my sister had driven down to Arizona, which is where all of my mom's family is. And my mom and my sister had decided to stay down in Arizona for like another week, and then they were going to fly back home. And my dad and I were going to drive back, and we decided we were going to take a pretty like extended road trip back, and it was going to be fun. And we were just like, we were going to be bonding. Like we hadn't really done that before, just me and my dad. So we were like, okay, this is going to be awesome. We're going to like go through like New Mexico and Colorado, and we were driving back to Iowa because that's where I'm from. So kind of like through the whole Southwest. And so we drove through New Mexico and we stopped at White Sands National Monument, which, if you ever get the chance to go there, I recommend it. It's so beautiful. It's just sand dunes of like pure white sand, and it's incredibly beautiful. And you can rent like little sleds to go sledding in the sand dunes, and they have them at like all the gift stores. You can like rent them and give them back and get your money back at the end of the day. And I was like, Dad, we need to rent a sled. And he was like, absolutely not, because you will get sand all over the car. And he was right. I would have. So I didn't get to go sledding in the sand, but we did like go for a hike. And like the other thing that was happening during this trip, this is important, is my dad is a photographer and he was trying to take my senior pictures because it was right before my senior year of high school. So he was like, we're going to get pictures of you like in the sand dunes and stuff. So we did that and it was super fun. We stopped at Roswell, which is really kind of disappointing. It's just like a lot of like washed up gift shops that are kind of dead. So we went to a museum and paid them like too much money to walk through the exhibits and learn about the aliens, and it was disappointing. So anyway, then we ended up stopping at Great Sand Dunes National Park in Colorado. It was one of our last stops on our trip. And something I forgot to mention about White Sands National Monument is because the sand is all white there, it is like it's cool to the touch. It doesn't collect heat. It's not hot. You can walk on it in your bare feet. It's fine. So we show up to Great Sand Dunes National Park. The park ranger at the entrance hands us our little brochure, and the first thing the brochure says is make sure you wear closed-toed shoes like hiking boots because the sand is very hot. And we were like, this doesn't apply to us. We're gonna be fine. And I am wearing my I think my dad was wearing hiking boots, but I'm wearing my Keen sandals, which I had had for like 4 years. Like ever since my feet stopped growing, I'd had these same shoes, and they were kind of on their last legs. They were old, but they were my favorites. So I was like, you know what, this doesn't apply to me. I'm gonna be fine. And so we set out walking up some sand dunes, trying to take a hike. My dad's got his camera. He's like, we're gonna take some more sand dunes pictures. He had like this umbrella that I don't know where he found looking back. I don't know where the umbrella came from, but he had this like red and white umbrella that he was really invested of like getting a picture of me holding the umbrella. So we set out walking and immediately I was just like, oh, there's a reason they told me to wear closed-toed shoes. This sucks because the sand was very hot and it immediately got in through the holes of my Keen sandals and was burning my feet. And my dad was doing fine and very invested in getting pictures, and I was like on the verge of tears, crawling up this sand dune and just miserable and like, oh my god, Dad, can we please just go home? I don't want to take pictures. And then, because these Keen sandals were so incredibly old, the soles came off, and I was in the very hot sand with two shoes that were no longer shoes. And then we went back to the car and I threw away my favorite Keen sandals in the dumpster at Great Sand Dunes National Park, where may they rest in peace. And that's the story of the only time I've ever been to Great Sand Dunes National Park.